Mr. Modi was even ready to make sure that the chairs at our press conferences were properly organized. Mulayam, as he was called at the time, for firing on
30th October and 2nd November 1990.
That's right, for firing on car sevaks. Demolition. If you hadn't had the demolition, you wouldn't have this day. Welcome to Chunaav Ke Chaudhary. After a bit of a break, Preeti has been traveling and I've been working. Right? Actually, it's the opposite.
It's the other way around.
It's the other way around. You know, the 9 p.m. ratings went up suddenly because Preeti was doing the show. And I felt like just staying back in Goa.
It's come a full circle, the Ram Mandir movement finally being inaugurated on the 22nd of January by none else but the Prime Minister, who is going to be conducting the Pran Pratishtha ceremony of the consecration of the Ram Lalla idol.
Can I, in a way, say that life has come full circle for me as well, as a journalist? Because one of the first stories that I got to do as a young journalist was the Ram Shila Puja that the VHP had started in the late 1980s. I think 88, 89, the Palampur resolution of the BJP. But I got the opportunity to cover the Ram Rath Yatra in 1990 as a young journalist because my senior fell ill. And for me, that Somnath to Mumbai journey was the first big national story in a way that I got to cover, apart from the 89 elections. And many of the characters who were around at that time are no longer with us or are extremely marginal to politics. But there is one central figure, Narendra Bhai Modi.
But why I'll say that is
Narendra Bhai Damodar Das Modi.
But okay, now you say that and I'll give you context to it because he talks about the Ram Rath Yatra, which was taken out by LK Advani. And LK Advani just about a week ago has given a statement that he was the charioteer, supposed to be the charioteer, and it was destined that Modi, Prime Minister Modi, will inaugurate the Ram.
You know, the fact is that Ram Rath Yatra was all about Advani. Just as this consecration ceremony about Mr. Modi, Mr. Advani was the central figure. I still remember, he suddenly, almost out of nowhere, because he'd lived for the longest time politically in the shadows of Atal Bihari Vajpayee. But in those 2 years, starting from 89, building into this Ram Rath Yatra movement, Advani came into his own almost. And many years later, sitting with his wife Kamla at a BJP National Executive dinner, I remember asking him, Sir, the Ram Rath Yatra positioned you as a militant Hindu leader. And he turns to his wife and says, Kamla ji, do you think I'm a militant? And Advani ji was completely, Kamla ji called the shots. And Advani ji, at least at home, was very much, the doting husband. Yes, Mr. Modi was there. Mr. Modi's role was as General Secretary in charge of Gujarat to organize the Gujarat link. Pramod Mahajan, I would say, was even more important, to be very honest, in terms of choreographing that entire event. The choreography, the Toyota Rath to be put in place, these were all ideas that Pramod Mahajan brought in. Pramod ji is no longer with us, but Mr. Modi is very much there. So if he is to be called the charioteer today, so be it.
No, he wasn't the charioteer. He
said Advani was the charioteer, but Mr. Modi has taken it over.
Yeah, he's the one who was destined to inaugurate the Ram Mandir.
Well, was he destined? He was in charge. One of his tasks was in charge of the media, I remember, in Gujarat during that Rath Yatra. And I keep telling this story about how we were somewhere in Navsari or Surat and the fax machine was not working. And there was Mr. Modi making sure that we got our fax machines because that was the only way, apart from telex machines, to send copy. Mr. Modi was even ready to make sure that the chairs at our press conferences were properly organized. In a
way, that feeds into the whole narrative of the BJP. Even a karyakarta can rise up to the
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, let me be very clear. I've said this on other shows as well. Narendra Bhai has come a very long way from the grassroots. He's not someone who's catapulted himself from the top, and that's one of his strengths.
Let's just go back, Rajdeep, to what the Mandir movement was. It wasn't really the calling of the BJP, it was a political necessity at the time. Kamandal or the Rath Yatra was the answer to Mandal, which was VP Singh's politics, which at that time the BJP government was supporting.
No, absolutely. Let's be clear. This was the BJP in the early 1980s never took up the Mandir movement. The Mandir movement is taken up by the VHP. First in the mid 1984. That in itself, some believe, is to the Meenakshi Puram conversions that had taken place. And then you have the VHP taking this up aggressively. You have Rajiv Gandhi's government opening the gates of the Babri Masjid under a court order. Then you have the
But then,
Shilanyas.
where Rajiv
The
Gandhi
BJP sees opportunity. You see, the BJP was a 2 MP party looking for an emotional issue. They latch on to the VHP's issue. Let me be clear. Vajpayee ji was not in favor of it. He was speaking of Gandhian secularism at the time in the early 1980s when the BJP is formed.
What happened was 84 is when the VHP took this yatra out asking for the Ram Mandir, and then at that point of time 89 was the time where the BJP was supporting the VP Singh government. Mandal was brought in. Kamandal was an answer or a political necessity to Mandal, and the BJP realized that the Ram Mandir was catching traction with the people that the VHP was taking to them. Therefore the Rath Yatra.
No, look, first of all, they're all part of the same Sangh
True,
Parivar.
yes.
So they do it,
But it galvanized
there is a
the
division
Sangh.
of labor in a way.
But it galvanized the
Of
Sangh,
course
which
it
was
did.
fractured then.
No, I'll tell you also what was interesting, Preeti, that when Advani ji starts his Somnath Yatra, because he was not seen as a charismatic leader like Vajpayee ji, even among the visiting journalists or the journalists, there was a sense of skepticism. Kya hai Rath Yatra, kahan tak chalegi?
You followed it entirely.
I don't know. You see, the journalism operates in
One
very
leg, two
no.
legs.
You see, I was in Mumbai.
Right.
Our main headquarters of Times of India was Delhi.
Right.
The moment the Rath Yatra crossed the west coast of India and moved into Madhya Pradesh and others, we were told very clearly, "Tumhara kaam ho gaya."
You came to Delhi.
No, I didn't come to Delhi. My Gujarat and Maharashtra. I wasn't on December 6, 1992, when tragically the Babri Masjid was demolished. I was in Mumbai, and we thought this was a story of Ayodhya and Delhi. As it turned out, for those 3 months, Mumbai became the story because the fallout and
immense.
the blowback was in
Okay,
Mumbai.
let's go back. For a minute, let's go back. So, did you see, as a journalist at that time, did you see the Rath Yatra of Advani gaining traction where the masses were concerned?
Absolutely. From Somnath, where, as I said, there was skepticism. Once the Yatra crosses Ahmedabad, moves towards Baroda, Surat, I will never forget a night where Uma Bharti and Sadhvi Ritambara addressed the audiences. They were the fiery face of they were the ones who, frankly, resorted to extremely inflammatory speeches. But the crowd was clearly in unison with them. And then you realize that the BJP was onto something. I think it was Indian politics at that time was in a state where the Congress under Rajiv Gandhi was appeared to be in decline after the 89 defeat. VP Singh had played the Mandal card, but the Mandal forces were splintered. So there was a vacuum in Indian politics, and the BJP rushed in there. Indian politics in 1990s was going through churning.
Right.
There was, I call it the 3 M's, Mandal, Mandir, Market. There was Narasimha Rao pushing the market agenda through liberalization, and Manmohan Singh, another M. There was the BJP pushing Mandir, and the likes of Mulayam and Lalu pushing Mandal forces.
All right, let's get some anecdotes now, because let's go back. So the Rath has started to roll. It's catching a lot of traction. VP Singh is trying very hard to stop it. Advani is relentless, rolling on. And then he gets arrested by Lalu in Samastipur, Bihar.
हम अपने राज में मतलब दंगा फसाद को फैलने नहीं देंगे.
Not just Lalu. Please understand how history plays out. By the DM at the time is a certain Mr. RK Singh, who's a minister today in this government. This is one of the ironies of politics. And for Lalu, it changed Lalu's image. You see, again, Lalu Prasad comes virtually from nowhere to become the chief minister of Bihar. But once he arrests Mr. Advani, Lalu also acquires a national image.
Did Lalu want to do it? Because it seemed it was Mulayam who wanted to do it, and VP Singh was insecure of Mulayam and got Lalu to do it.
See, these are stories told. I mean, I think it suited Lalu's politics also. It's not as if it didn't suit Lalu's politics. Lalu also played this so-called aggressive secularism there was political opportunism on all sides. Let's be clear. This movement, and like many movements, started through political opportunism. Every leader looking to secure themselves.
So, at that time, Lalu, who's the chief minister of Bihar, arrests Advani. Mulayam, who's the chief minister of Uttar Pradesh, earns the name of Maulana Mulayam. How did that happen?
For firing on car sevaks. Mulayam, as he was called at the time, for firing
30th October and 2nd November 1990.
That's right, for firing on car sevaks. Now, again, some of the officials who were apparently working with Mulayam would later on work with Kalyan Singh's government as well in Uttar Pradesh. And there was uncertainty whether that was there is still a huge question mark over who took that decision to fire on the car sevaks. Was it taken at the local level or was it taken at the chief minister's level? But the fact is, I think that gave this movement even more an emotional appeal, because when you fire on people, then they become martyrs to a cause.
Was it true, Rajdeep, at the time that if they had not fired at the car sevaks, then what went down on the 6th of December 1992 could have gone down on the 30th of October 1990 or the 2nd of November 1990?
I tend to agree with that. Look, it's very clear to me, and I've asked my grandfather, who was a police officer. He says if the police wants, they will stop any mob, however large it is, from taking law into their own hands. So I think if the police really had the same authority in 1992 that we had in 1990, you wouldn't have had the demolition. If you hadn't had the demolition, you wouldn't have this day, because then it went through the court order. And the Congress government of Narasimha Rao has much to answer.
Because you were covering politics so keenly, a lot has been said that possibly the likes of Mr. LK Advani, the likes of Uma Bharti, likes of Mr. Murli Manohar Joshi fanned the flames at that point of time. Did they know what they were getting into? Because you had Mr. Advani, who's actually written in his own biography saying that we tried very hard to stop the car sevaks, they just didn't listen.
Look, again, there are conflicting views on this. You've seen the statements.
And it's very sensitive because the court case.
Yeah, you've got Praveen Jain, a photographer who's still around with us. Used to be a photographer with the Indian with the Pioneer in those days, went to the Indian Express, now is with the Print. He actually dressed himself as a car sevak the day before, because according to him, and he's deposed before the Liberan Commission that was appointed to look at the Babri Masjid demolition, he actually says that there was a trial carried out the day before of how they would go ahead with the demolition. So this spontaneity doesn't work for me. Whether the political leaders knew exactly what would happen, there's a huge question mark. Both Mr. Advani and Mr. Vajpayee have denied that they had any knowledge, but they were helpless.
Do you think one of the biggest calling cards of the BJP has been the Ram Mandir, if you look back?
Oh, absolutely. It gave the BJP an identity.
Right.
It gave the BJP, but please understand, even with that identity, the BJP was a party of 20-22%. Even in 1996, Mr. Vajpayee emerges as the single largest party, but he's unable to cross even the 200-seat mark. And they require allies, and the government falls within 2 weeks. So Ayodhya took the BJP from a single-digit party or a 2 MP party, as well as a single digit in percentage terms, to a party of about 20-22% and a party of around 120 and eventually 180 seats. It's the Modi era where from 2014 the BJP has become a majority party, and I don't think that's because of Ram Mandir. My belief is Mr. Modi's leadership, he was able to cash in on the mood for change in 2014 by promising Achhe Din.
Nationalism.
He pushed nationalism in 2019, and now he's putting it all together to what I call Moditva, which is a bit of Hindutva and a bit of Mr. Modi itself.
Hindutva. Yeah. You can't say a bit.
Yeah, so
like you're not watching your own television screen.
No, I am. But you look, at the end of the day, if you think, my belief is you don't win elections only on Ram.
True.
The failures of the opposition. The Mandalite opposition was seen to be corrupted, was seen to be nepotistic, was seen to play caste politics. The Congress was seen to offer no counter narrative over the years. That gave the BJP the space where a Mr. Modi, to quote one congressman, was there at the right place at the right time. So Mandir has its limits, in my view, of becoming you can't win an election across India only on Mandir. It has to be Mandir plus politics. That's and the interesting part, since you're asking, many of these Mandir sort of faces, Vinay Katiyar. I don't know how many of you have heard of Vinay Katiyar. He was the Faizabad MP. Now,
Bajrang Dal chief
that's
at
right,
that
but
time.
where,
at the time when the Babri went down.
Yeah, and always available for a
or
quote.
The disputed side.
And would always make a controversial quote that would get him into trouble. Where is he today? The Vishwa Hindu Parishad now suddenly is rediscovering itself by sending these invites out. But today it's the BJP and Mr. Modi who dominate politics. I'm just saying the transformation of a number of these figures who were very important in the 1990s and early 2000s and today are extremely marginal. ये cycle है, ये वक्त का पहिया है. कौन ऊपर कौन नीचे, सत्ता आती है जाती है मेरे दोस्त. That's what I keep saying.
सर अभी तो सत्ता में एक ही है और वो है प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी और वही लग रहा है.
Oh,
आपको नहीं लग रहा है?
I thought she was going to say अभी तो आप ही हैं सत्ता में.
सत्ता में?
नहीं, मैं सत्ता में नहीं हूँ. मैं संघर्ष में हूँ. मैं संघर्ष में हूँ.
All right, okay.
सत्ता versus संघर्ष.
So do you, okay, last quick question before we end the show. Do you see this now with the inauguration of the Ram temple? It's a culmination of sorts. Is this the last time that the Ram Mandir card would be encashed electorally, to be, very plainly speaking?
I have heard this several times in the past. Ab to Ram Mandir will be subject to diminishing returns. In fact, when Mandal was rising, people said Mandal has trumped Mandir. What has happened?
True.
BJP has merged Mandal and Mandir. History is replete with politicians making mistakes which the next generation has to suffer from. So all that we are seeing playing out in 22, 23, 24 started in the 1980s, which according to me is the most fascinating decade of Indian politics.
I've been reading up on it and 100% I agree with you.
80s. Someone has to do a good movie
late
on the
80s,
80s.
early 90s.
Yeah, you can have me as the anchor. I'm available. OTT series on the 1980s anytime you want.
All right. Okay. With that note, we're gonna cut it. A hard cut there.